It started with a drawer. Not an argument, not a long stare into the void, not some grand revelation, just a drawer left open. That small, stupid drawer in the hallway table where we kept batteries, receipts, and keys we never remembered what they unlocked. But it was wide open, papers spilling out like something had been ripped through in a hurry. Not like her. She was the kind of woman who wiped down kitchen counters that were already clean. If she left something out, there was a reason. I didn't touch it. I walked past it, let it sit in my mind like a splinter, quietly infecting the rest of my evening. I remember everything from that night like it was scorched into my brain. The way the refrigerator made that low hum, the flicker of the hallway light I hadn't fixed in months, the faint scent of vanilla and something unfamiliar, something bitter, floating down the hallway from our room. She was upstairs. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was fast. Hushed. Urgent. I thought maybe she was on the phone with her sister. They talked in code when they were gossiping. Those conversations always made me feel like I was eavesdropping even when they were on speaker. But then I heard it. He has to go. Not he needs to leave or I'm done. No. It was cold. Mechanical. Like it was already decided and I was just an obstacle on her schedule. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I stood there in the dark hallway like a shadow, hearing my wife, my partner in every goddamn holiday, hospital visit, and tax season say those words in the same tone she used when ordering takeout. He has to go. I stepped back, slow and quiet. My foot caught on the edge of the rug and the hallway creaked louder than it should have. Her voice cut off like a blade, and a moment later, the door creaked open. She didn't see me. She stood in the doorway with her phone still pressed to her chest. I watched her glance down the stairs, squint into the dark, then slip back into the room and shut the door softly behind her. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even lie down. I sat on the living room floor in front of the cold fireplace, the kind people install for aesthetics, and just stared at the shadows on the wall. My mind wasn't racing, it was calculating. Every odd moment, every strange text, every night she came home late and acted like I was the one being dramatic. I could hear her laughter in my memory, the way it had changed. Sharper. More distant. Like it had somewhere better to be. She thought I was asleep. She thought I was clueless. But something about the way she said it, that phrase, that sentence, it wasn't just betrayal. It was a threat disguised as apathy. She wanted me gone. And not in the breakup kind of way. She wanted a clean slate. And suddenly I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was a problem she was trying to erase. But she didn't know yet, when you plan a clean exit, you better make sure the person you're cutting out isn't already 5 steps ahead. That was the night I stopped being confused. That was the night I started watching everything. The next morning wasn't real. Not in the way mornings usually are, with stale coffee, awkward glances, and the sound of someone brushing their teeth too hard. No, this one felt staged. Like I had walked into a room where someone had already set the scene and rehearsed their lines. She was in the kitchen, humming. Not just any song, some upbeat, chirpy thing that sounded ridiculous coming from her. She never hummed. She barely spoke before noon. Yet there she was, barefoot, flipping pancakes like we were auditioning for a cereal commercial. Her phone, though, that was real. Face down on the counter, vibrating every few minutes. She never used to hide her screen. Morning, she said. Not looking at me. Not missing a beat. Like the night before had been a dream I wasn't supposed to remember. I watched her too long before answering. Studied the way she moved, every flick of her wrist, every pause between vibrations. I could see the tension behind her eyes, just a flicker, like she was waiting to see if I knew. I didn't take the bait. I played my role. Morning, I said. I even kissed her on the cheek. She flinched. Not visibly, no. But I felt it. A muscle twitch. Just enough to tell me I wasn't imagining things. That whole day, I moved like I was underwater. She texted constantly. Stepped outside twice to take a call and came back smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. She claimed she bumped into an old coworker. Forgot their name. Changed the subject. Laughed too loud at something on her phone and told me I wouldn't get it. She was clumsy in her lies. But here's the thing, she didn't care if I noticed. That's what made it worse. It wasn't that she was being deceptive. It was that she had already decided I didn't matter. That I'd already lost the game and hadn't figured it out yet. She started leaving earlier. Coming back later. Buying clothes she never wore in front of me. There was a perfume bottle on her vanity I'd never seen before. Bright red. Tacky as hell. Not at all her taste. When I asked about it, she said, Gift from a client. Then threw it into a drawer like she didn't want to talk about it. That night, I checked that drawer. It was gone. So I did something I'd never done before in our marriage. I followed her. It was a Thursday. She said she had a late meeting and told me not to wait up. I gave her a kiss, handed her her scarf, and watched her walk out the door with the kind of grace that makes strangers believe she's kind. 10 minutes later, I was in my car, headlights off, engine low, following at a distance. She wasn't headed to the office. She didn't even glance in that direction. Instead, she drove across town to a condo complex I didn't recognize. She didn't hesitate. She parked like she'd done it before, like it was routine. Then she got out, glanced at her reflection in the car window, adjusted her lipstick, and walked inside without knocking. That building, that door, it opened before she even touched it. Someone was waiting. I didn't see his face, but I didn't need to, because she laughed, really laughed as she stepped inside. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard in over a year. Carefree, intimate, like she had finally come home. I didn't follow her in. I didn't need to. I just sat there, watching, waiting. My fingers clenched the steering wheel, not out of anger, but because I knew something she didn't. This wasn't her game anymore. It was mine, and I was just getting started. The following day, I didn't go to work. I told my boss I had food poisoning, which technically wasn't a lie. Something was rotting inside me. It just wasn't something you could throw up. I stayed home, and for the first time since the circus began, I opened my laptop and started digging. I wasn't looking for names or phone numbers. I was looking for patterns. See, she was messy with her phone, but not stupid. She deleted texts, closed browser tabs, used apps I'd never even seen before. But everyone leaves fingerprints, even the ones who think they're careful. And I'd lived next to her long enough to know where to look. I went through our shared email, one we only used for bills and boring adult things. I knew she didn't think I ever opened it. Buried in the trash folder were a few forwarded reservations for dinner. One was for 2 at a steakhouse she hated. The date matched one of those late meetings. I clicked it open. The name on the confirmation wasn't hers. It was Marissa Hill. An alias. She had an alias. I sat back in my chair and laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was outrageous. Like I'd stumbled into a low-budget soap opera that didn't realize it was trying too hard. Who even uses a fake name to make dinner reservations? Unless you're trying not to be seen. Unless you're doing something you know would burn your whole world down if someone caught a glimpse. I wrote it all down, dates, times, names, places. Not for confrontation. Not yet. I was building something. Laying bricks. She thought I was dumb, oblivious, average. She forgot I'm patient. Quiet doesn't mean weak. Quiet means I wait until the floor under you cracks so perfectly, so cleanly you don't even feel yourself fall. That night she came home late again. Said traffic was a nightmare. Tossed her heels in the entryway like she'd run a marathon. I noticed something though, her necklace. A thin gold chain I'd bought her last Christmas. She always wore it tight around her neck. Tonight it was loose, unclasped, twisted. She'd been in a hurry putting it back on. She poured herself a glass of wine. Didn't ask if I wanted one. Just flopped onto the couch and scrolled through her phone with a half smile. I sat across from her, watching. Good meeting? I asked. She didn't even blink. Long. You know how it is. You were at that steakhouse on Grove Street, right? She froze. Only for a second. A blink. But I saw it. Then she scoffed and smiled like I'd said something dumb. No. I told you it was a client thing. Why? I shrugged. Just passed by there earlier. Saw a woman who looked like you. She laughed. That's funny. I've never even been there. Another lie. A direct one. She didn't try to dance around it, didn't pretend to forget. She denied it completely. And that's when I knew this was deeper than a fling. This wasn't just her cheating. This was her erasing. Rewriting. Burning the history of us so she could rewrite herself in some sleazy side story where I didn't exist. So I let her keep lying. I even brought her flowers the next day. She said I was being sweet. I told her she was worth it. She kissed me, but I didn't feel her lips. I only felt the weight of the matchbox in my pocket, the one with the restaurant's logo on it. The one I picked up the night she walked inside and never looked back. She didn't know I had it. Just like she didn't know what I was about to do next. It was 3 days later when everything shifted. Not gradually. Not like some slow leak in the foundation. No, this was the moment the ground split open and showed me just how far she was willing to go. I came home early again. Quietly. No warning. I didn't even park in the driveway. Left my car down the street and walked. It was raining, light enough not to drench me, but steady enough to drown out my footsteps. I slipped in through the back door with the spare key she forgot I still had on my old set. The kitchen was empty. Lights off. No sound except the ticking clock and the dull beat of water against the windows. And then I heard it. Her voice. Not from the living room, not from upstairs. From the bedroom. I crept down the hall. She was on the phone again, pacing in circles. I could see the shadow of her moving back and forth across the floor, just under the crack in the door. She was whispering. I leaned closer. No, he doesn't suspect a thing. He's still playing house. Honestly, it's pathetic. She laughed, and I swear something inside me cracked. She kept going. I told you, he has to go. I'm not dragging this out another month. I want the account. I want the house. I want it clean. Then silence. A few seconds later. Yeah, this weekend. Just act normal. He's too soft to do anything. He's never even raised his voice. That was the moment everything changed. I backed away. Slowly. I didn't make a sound. She thought I was weak. She thought I was furniture. Predictable. Silent. The man who'd bring her coffee in bed while she plotted how to cut my legs out from under me. She didn't know I'd heard everything. And I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. Because she had just told someone, whoever that was, that I was a non-threat. Paperman. A coward. That gave me an edge. People let their guard down when they think you're nothing. So that night, I started dismantling the life she thought she controlled. First, I went to the bank. Quietly pulled half of our joint savings into a separate account. Nothing flashy. Just enough to get her attention when it disappeared. I left her half alone for now. Then I dug into the paperwork. The stuff no one wants to deal with, the mortgage, the credit card bills, the utilities. Everything that made the house tick. Guess who handled all that for the last 5 years? Me. Guess who's been the only name on 3 out of the 4 major accounts? Also me. I didn't shut anything down. Just made a few changes. Adjusted notification settings. Removed her as an authorized user in a few key places. Subtle moves. Things that don't ring alarms until the lights go out and she tries to call the power company and they tell her they're not allowed to speak to her anymore. Then I backed up everything. Photos. Messages. Documents. Every scrap of digital evidence I could find. I made copies and hid them on cloud storage she didn't know about. And when all of that was in place, I made my move. I left her a note. Not a breakup note. Not a dramatic goodbye. Just one line, typed and printed and taped to the inside of her vanity mirror so she'd see it first thing in the morning. I know everything. I heard you. You have until Sunday. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. Because from the second she read those words, she'd know the man she thought she could bury just dug his way out. She found the note at 6:43 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I wasn't there when she read it. I made sure of that. I'd left the house hours before, stayed in my car parked 2 blocks away, watching from a spot she wouldn't think to check. It was important she read those words in silence. With no one to manipulate. No audience to lie to. Just her reflection, and the quiet echo of her own voice whispering he has to go. She didn't scream. She didn't call. She didn't even text. But I knew the moment she read it because 10 minutes later, all the blinds in the bedroom were shut and her car stayed parked for the next 6 hours. She was spiraling. I could picture it. The pacing. The panicked calls to whoever she'd been talking to behind my back. The rapid backpedaling. The paranoia sinking its claws into her perfect little world. She was trying to figure out how much I knew. And when I found out. And what I was going to do about it. Good. I wanted her to wonder. I gave her the full day. Then, right after midnight, just as Sunday officially started, I came home. She was waiting in the living room, lights dimmed like she thought low lighting might make this easier. She was wearing that old sweater I liked, the one I hadn't seen in months, as if it could pull memories back into place like magnets. Tyler, she said, carefully, slowly, like she was talking to a wounded animal. We need to talk. I didn't sit. Talk. She paused. Studied my face. She didn't know which version of me she was facing. The clueless one she'd been stringing along, or the man who taped a single sentence to her mirror and walked away. I don't know what you think you heard, but she began, her voice soft, breathy. I held up my hand. No. You don't get to start with that. Not this time. Her expression twitched. The mask was still there, but it was starting to crack. I could see the edges fraying. I heard you, I said. Behind the door. Thursday night. You said I had to go. You laughed about it. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then, like flipping a switch, she leaned back and scoffed. Oh, come on. That's what this is about? You're spying on me now. She stood up, arms crossed, instantly flipping from fragile to hostile. The real her was out now. The one I hadn't seen in full until this moment. You're out of your mind, she snapped. You misheard. Or maybe you wanted to hear something. Because you can't handle the fact that I've been unhappy for years, and you've done nothing about it. There it was. The pivot. When they're caught, they don't apologize. They blame, reframe, rewrite. You want to talk unhappy? I said, calm as stone. Let's talk about reservations under fake names. Let's talk about your little condo visits. Let's talk about the account you opened last month without telling me. Her mouth opened, then shut, then curled into a smile that didn't touch her eyes. You've been spying, she said quietly now. You've been tracking me like some kind of freak. No, I said. I've been waking up. There's a difference. Silence. She knew then. Knew there was no spinning this. No sweet talking. No twisted half-truth that would buy her time. I was past the line. Past the point of saving. She dropped the act entirely. So what, she said coldly. You want to leave? Fine. Go. But don't you dare touch my house or my money, or it's not your house, I interrupted. It's our house. But if you want to start splitting hairs, I suggest you check whose name is on the deed. Spoiler, it's not yours. She went silent again. Rage rising. Her chest heaving. Everything you thought you were keeping, I said, is about to slip right through your fingers. And you know why? She didn't answer. Because I let you believe I was asleep. And now I'm wide awake. I walked out without another word. She didn't follow. I don't think she knew what to do. For the first time I had the power. And this time I wasn't giving it back. By Monday morning, she'd flipped the script again. That's how people like her operate. When rage fails, they crawl into victimhood like it's a silk robe. She started texting me like nothing happened. Let's talk. We're better than this. I miss you. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the courthouse. I wasn't filing for divorce. Not yet. That would have been too easy, too clean. And honestly, too kind. What I wanted was leverage. So I requested access to all property filings related to our address and confirmed something I'd already suspected. When we refinanced the mortgage last year, she let me sign everything while she skimmed through her phone. Never asked a single question, which meant her name never made it onto the paperwork. The house was mine, entirely. She'd been nesting in a fantasy and never even realized the walls were borrowed. After that, I called a locksmith. By Tuesday evening, she came home to find the locks changed and a single manila envelope taped to the door. Inside, photocopies of everything. Bank records, hotel receipts, emails, screenshots, even that matchbox from the steakhouse. All of it. Her entire secret life flattened onto 17 pages. I was parked a block away, watching. She stared at that envelope for a long time. Opened it. Scanned the first few pages. Then she crumpled the whole thing in her fist and threw it at the door like that might erase the evidence. I could see her pacing back and forth, trying to decide whether to knock, scream, or break in. She did none of those things. She left. She didn't go to the condo this time. I checked. She went to her sister's. Now here's where it gets interesting. Her sister called me 2 hours later. We hadn't spoken in over a year, never liked each other much. But she sounded cautious, like someone approaching a stray dog that might bite. She told me you kicked her out, she said. She told you why? I asked. Silence. She said you're punishing her, she finally said. That you've been unstable. There it was. She was painting me as the villain. Of course she was. That's the only role that makes sense in her world when control slips out of her hands. I didn't argue. I just said, tell her to check the mailbox tomorrow. She did. And what she found inside was a single flash drive. Nothing fancy. Just a plain USB drive labeled replay. It held a single audio file. The bedroom conversation I'd recorded through the thin hallway walls. The full whisper, he has to go. I want it clean. I want the account. I want the house. The sound of her laughing. The pause when she thought I wasn't listening. And then the click of her phone ending the call. I sent a follow-up text. If I were you, I'd start looking for a lawyer. Not for divorce, this isn't about that anymore. This is about exposure. No reply. Until midnight. A text. Just 3 words. What do you want? I stared at that message for a long time. Because that's what this had all been building toward, wasn't it? Her finally asking. Not assuming, not threatening, not manipulating, but asking what I wanted. And for once, I didn't have to answer. Because she already knew the truth. What I wanted was to be the nightmare she never saw coming. The next morning, I made her wait. She texted again around 8 a.m. Can we talk? Please. I ignored it. At 9:17, her tone shifted. I don't know what else you want from me. Still nothing. By 10:42, it changed again. This is harassment, Tyler. There it was. The switch. When they realize pleading doesn't work, they reach for the matches. Threats, accusations, flipping the mirror to make themselves the victim. Classic. And utterly predictable. I waited until lunchtime. Then I sent a list. Not a long one. Just 4 items. Remove your name from every shared account. Sign the quitclaim deed to the house. Deliver a written admission of the affair and attempted manipulation to your lawyer. I already have a copy for mine. Disappear. No threats. No insults. Just facts. It wasn't a negotiation, it was a closing statement. She didn't respond right away. I knew she wouldn't. She'd need to scramble. Call people. Ask questions. Confirm that yes, her name really wasn't on the mortgage, that yes, she could actually lose everything if this went to court. By 5 p.m., her sister called me again. Voice tight, cautious. She's asking me to talk to you. Says you're trying to ruin her. I'm not, I said. She did that herself. I'm just making sure the credits roll. Silence. She's scared, her sister said finally. Good. That evening, I left the house. Not because I was afraid of what she might do. I just didn't want to breathe the same air as her anymore. I checked into a hotel and turned off my phone. I wanted her to feel it, the silence, the void, the absence of control. I wanted her to sit in the ashes of a plan that backfired so completely, so publicly, she couldn't even look at her own reflection without remembering the sound of her own voice saying, he has to go. And I knew exactly where she'd go when the panic really kicked in. To him. The man behind the other side of that condo door. What she didn't know. I'd already found out who he was. His name was Brett. Of course it was. Brett with the tucked-in shirts and the leased BMW. Mid-level at some logistics firm, divorced, no kids. Met her at a networking event 9 months ago. His social media was wide open, he hadn't posted about her once. I doubt she even gave him her real last name. She was playing him too. I almost pitied the guy. Almost. So while she was spinning in her little storm of chaos, I made one final move. I mailed Brett a letter. Old school. No return address. Just an envelope with a flash drive and a printed photo. One of him and her mid-laugh from a parking lot camera outside the condo. On the flash drive, that same audio file. The one that started it all. No explanation. No threats. Just truth. Why? Because if you're going to burn bridges, make sure the flames are high enough to light every dark corner they thought was safe. By the time I checked my phone the next day, I had 4 missed calls from her. 1 voicemail. She was crying. Not the kind of crying you do when you're heartbroken. The kind you do when you're cornered. When the walls are closing in and the exits are gone. I didn't listen to the whole thing. Just the first 5 seconds. Please, Tyler, you don't understand. But I did. I understood perfectly. Because this wasn't revenge anymore. This was reckoning. By the time the weekend rolled around, she had officially vanished from the house. Quiet exit. No goodbye. No note. I didn't need one. She'd already said everything. Every lie, every calculated whisper behind the door. I'd squeezed every last ounce of pretense out of her. And all that was left was silence and a trail of undone schemes. But her disappearance wasn't the end. It was the beginning of the fallout. The real one. The kind that doesn't erupt immediately, but simmers in the background until it swallows everything. Monday morning, I woke up to an email from a mutual friend. Someone we'd known for years. Someone who'd always seemed to believe the image she presented. The email was short, to the point, and laced with tension. Hey man, I don't know what happened, but she called me in a panic last night. Said you were blackmailing her or something. Are you okay? What's going on? I laughed out loud. Not because it was funny, but because I could see the exact story she was spinning now. She wasn't the one who cheated. She wasn't the one who schemed. No, she was the victim of some vindictive husband with a control problem. But people like her always overplay their hand. She had forgotten something crucial. I didn't care about what anyone believed anymore. Let them wonder. Let them speculate. I didn't need to scream the truth from rooftops. The truth had already been mailed, recorded, backed up, and signed. Legally, financially, irrevocably. That afternoon, her lawyer called. Not mine, hers. I'm calling on behalf of my client, he said, voice smooth and neutral. We'd like to discuss a potential resolution to avoid escalation. I leaned back in my chair, let the silence breathe. She's willing to sign the quitclaim deed, he continued, and she'll release all claims to joint assets in exchange for what? I interrupted. He hesitated. Discretion. That word again. The coward's currency. I didn't agree. I didn't say no either. I told him I'd think about it. That I wanted to review some things first. Just to watch her squirm another day. Just to let the message echo. You don't get to walk away clean. That night I got another text. Just one. You've ruined everything. And for the first time in months, I slept like a stone. But it wasn't over. Not yet. Because while she thought she was being clever deleting messages, using fake names, meeting behind closed doors, she forgot the one thing people like her always forget. There are always loose ends. Always someone who knows something they weren't supposed to hear. And one of those people reached out to me. It was a coworker of hers. Let's call her Melissa. She messaged me through a burner account. No mutuals. No digital fingerprints. I think you should know, she wrote. There's more than one. That single sentence stopped everything. More than one. Not just Brett. Not just one affair. Not just one betrayal. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't falling out of love. This was a pattern. A whole separate life I'd never seen. And that meant one thing. Everything I thought I'd uncovered was just the surface. The real story was still buried, waiting. And now, I was going to dig. Melissa didn't give me everything at once. She trickled it out carefully, like she was afraid of what would happen if she dropped it all on my lap at once. Said she wasn't doing it to hurt anyone. Said she just couldn't keep watching it happen. Said she wasn't the only one who knew. I told her to send me what she had. She waited 2 days. Then my inbox lit up with a flood of screenshots, time-stamped images, partial voice recordings, conversations caught mid-thread, half-deleted texts, company calendar entries logged under fake meetings. And at the center of it all, not one man, three. 3 different men in 3 different cities over the last 14 months. Each one with a separate lie, separate version of her. One thought she was in the middle of a divorce. Another believed she was an entrepreneur too busy for relationships. The third thought she was single, full stop. And hey, race the kicker. Each of them had something she wanted. influence, access, money. One guy was in tech. Another ran a family-owned construction firm. The last worked in real estate and had a history of dating ambitious women. As he described in a very public Instagram post she commented on, using a burner profile. She wasn't looking for love. She was fishing for leverage. Every relationship a transaction. Every smile a down payment. That's when it really clicked for me. This was never about me. I was the placeholder. The one she married to keep the image tidy. The one she fed scraps to while she built her collection. She wore our marriage like camouflage, using it to look stable while she operated like a shark behind the curtain. And I had been so close to missing all of it. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to expose her to these men, not directly. That would have been too obvious, too clean. I wasn't trying to end her fantasy. I was going to unravel it from every angle. Make her lie to each of them faster than she could keep up. Leave her juggling fire with both hands tied. I created a new account. Sent each of the three a simple message. Check her out on LinkedIn. Scroll far enough. Look at the last name. Then search county clerk records, Tyler, marriage license. Ask her who he is. No threats. No explanation. Just curiosity and a breadcrumb trail. By the end of the week, I got what I wanted. One of them, real estate guy, posted a cryptic tweet. Nothing worse than thinking you're the only one when you're not even in the top 3. Another deactivated his Instagram. And the third? I watched her car parked outside his place for 2 hours one night. She never went in. Just sat there, staring at the door. She was unraveling now. The carefully crafted structure of her web breaking thread by thread. That weekend her sister called again. Different tone this time. She's not okay, she said. You got what you wanted. Can't you just let it go now? I almost answered. Almost said I didn't start this. But I didn't. Because it wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about truth. The kind she'd been hiding from everyone, including herself. And truth? Doesn't knock when it arrives. It kicks in the door. And this door? Was hanging by its last hinge. The final message came on a Sunday night. I was sitting on the back porch, wind cool, sky bruised with clouds, the kind of atmosphere that feels like a warning. My phone buzzed once, screen lighting up with her name. Just her name. No emojis, no passive-aggressive punctuation. That told me it wasn't a scream or a plea. It was a resignation. I opened it. You win. I signed the papers. I'm out of your life. But I hope you never find peace either. There it was. The last gaslight flickering out. She didn't say sorry. She didn't admit to anything. She didn't even ask why I didn't scream, why I never threw her things onto the lawn, why I didn't beg or curse or collapse. That's the thing about people like her. They don't understand silence when it has weight. They only understand noise, outbursts, drama, because silence terrifies them. It means control has shifted, and I had taken all of it back. She did sign the papers. All of them. The deed, the bank release, the affidavit to her lawyer admitting the infidelity and financial manipulation. Every last page. I made sure they were witnessed and notarized. Irrefutable. Clean. She moved out the next day. Left behind 2 coffee mugs, a broken hairdryer, and a single red heel. I didn't touch any of it. I let it sit there, like a gravestone for the version of me that used to make excuses for her. I cleaned the house top to bottom that night. Not because it was dirty, but because it had been theirs. Hers and whoever she decided she needed that week. Every room felt like it had absorbed the lies. I opened the windows. I burned every candle she'd bought. I replaced the bedding, the dishes, even the welcome mat. Everything she'd ever touched with intention was removed, sold, or trashed. I wasn't purging her. I was reclaiming myself. A week later, Melissa emailed again. Short and simple. You're not the only one she's done this to, but you're the first one who made her bleed without leaving a mark. That sentence stayed with me, because that's what this was about in the end, not revenge, not justice. Revelation. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was playing a game that had no winners, just victims. I was one. So were those other men. So were the people she lied to, manipulated, stepped on to climb whatever fantasy ladder she'd built in her head. But me? I walked away. Intact. Better. And that's what she'll never understand. She wanted a clean exit. She wanted the account, the house, the new chapter. Instead, she walked out with a bag of clothes and a name no one trusted anymore. I didn't need to ruin her. I just let her fall on the sword she sharpened herself. So here's my advice to anyone who ever hears a whisper behind a door or feels that ice-cold shift in someone's eyes. Don't confront them in anger. Don't chase the truth. Make the truth come to them. Quietly. Methodically. Let them dig their hole, and when they whisper, he has to go. Let them. And when they look up again, be gone. But leave the mirror behind. Let them see what they are. Every single day.